Good morning, or good evening, depending on when you're watching this episode. Ahead of us is another stop in our journey through the games of 1996. We're slowly getting closer to the end of the year, and this time we've reached November. Specifically, November 16th, when Heroes of Might and Magic 2. The Succession Wars was released on PC, a game that for many fans still remains one of the most important entries in the entire series. The game was developed by New World Computing, and published by the 3DO company. The first Heroes game had launched only a year earlier and was already well received. It introduced a great concept, but the second game expanded it in almost every possible way. So let's take a look at what made Heroes 2 such a classic.
The troubles all began 3 years ago, with the passing of the old king, Lord Iron Fist. The king left 2 sons. Roland was good, kindly, and honorable, while Archibald was not so good. Traditionally, the choice of the heir falls to the royal seer, but he died in a tragic boating accident. His successor's luck was no better, with Frederick falling out of a window, Robert slain by a dragon, and Johann dying of food poisoning. Archibald accused Roland of murdering the seers, and issued a proclamation against Roland. Fearing for his life, Roland fled the place for his castle in the west. With Roland gone, Archibald was able to influence the new royal seer's decision. The seer chose Archibald, and Archibald crowned himself king the next day. And so the war for succession began. Choose your lord.
My faithful vassal, I greet your pledge of loyalty with gratitude and relief. As you know, my wicked brother Archibald has seized my father's castle and usurped the throne. Only the lords nearest the castle have been quick to swear allegiance to him, but I fear even distant lords may take the oath in the absence of a viable alternative. I am determined to provide that alternative, even if it means making war on vassals formerly loyal to my father. Therefore, it is with a heavy heart that I must order you to compel the loyalty of the barons nearest my summer palace by force of arms. Since we cannot afford to fail, I have provided you with a sum of gold sufficient to the task. I have also provided you with a magical amulet to help coordinate our war efforts. Wear it always, and we will be in constant communication.
The story takes us back to the world of Enroth. After the death of King Morglin Ironfist, a war for the throne begins between his 2 sons. Roland Ironfist claims to be the rightful heir, while Archibald Ironfist intends to seize power through force and deception. Players can choose between 2 separate campaigns and support either side of the conflict. It is a simple but effective setup. There are no overly long cutscenes or complicated storytelling, but there is a clear goal and a strong sense that every battle is part of a larger war for the kingdom. For strategy games in the mid-1990s, that was more than enough. The real heart of the game is the gameplay itself. On the world map, you move heroes across the land, gather wood, ore, crystals, mercury, and other resources, capture mines, discover locations that grant bonuses, find artifacts, and build up your towns. Every day matters. Every move can create an advantage or cost you momentum. Do you spend gold on new buildings? Do you recruit an army immediately? Do you send your hero after treasure or push toward the enemy before they become stronger? That constant chain of decisions is what made Heroes 2 so addictive. When armies clash, the game shifts to a separate battlefield screen. Units move in turns, attack in melee or from range, and benefit from morale, luck, and spells. Positioning matters. Speed matters. Smart spell use matters. Battles were easy to understand but highly satisfying. Even a weaker army could still win through better tactics. One of the game's greatest strengths was its factions. Players could choose from 6 castles: Knight, Barbarian, Sorceress, Warlock, Wizard, Necromancer. Each faction had its own units, style of play, and identity. Knight relied on classic human armies. Barbarian played aggressively and with brute force. Sorceress used fast woodland creatures and nature magic. Warlock commanded powerful beasts and dragons. Wizard was expensive but fielded elite units. Necromancer built undead armies and wore enemies down over time. These were not cosmetic differences. Your town choice genuinely changed your strategy. Now the biggest question. What changed compared to the first Heroes of Might and Magic? The answer is quite a lot. First of all, the game became much larger and far more polished. Maps were more interesting, richer in content, and better designed. The interface became cleaner, easier to use, and more efficient. There were more units, more buildings, more artifacts, and more things to discover. The magic system was significantly expanded. Spells became a much more important part of gameplay, and mage guilds had greater strategic value. Hero development also improved. Stats, spells, and progression gave players more ways to shape their leaders. The visual leap was massive. The first game looked good for its time, but the sequel was on another level. Everything felt more detailed, more vibrant, and more refined. Sound improved as well. Music in the first game was good, but in Heroes 2 it became legendary? In short, the first game built the foundation. The second game revealed the full potential of the series. Graphics and atmosphere are still among the game's strongest qualities. Heroes 2 embraced a fairy tale, hand-drawn style that instantly created the feeling of classic fantasy. Colorful landscapes, animated creatures, and richly detailed town screens gave the world its own personality. Every terrain type had its own identity, from snow and swamps to deserts, grassy lands, and volcanic landscapes. Many fans still believe that no later game ever matched the warm and magical charm of this one. Then there is the music, composed by Paul Romero, Rob King, and Steve Baca. It remains one of the most recognizable soundtracks in strategy game history. Each town had its own theme. Night towns sounded noble and grand. Necromancer towns felt dark and sinister. Sorceress themes were light and enchanting. This was not just background music. It was one of the pillars of the game's atmosphere. Many players still remember these tracks better than soundtracks from modern games. Of course, the game was not perfect. The computer AI could be inconsistent. Sometimes the enemy developed efficiently and played well. Other times it wasted moves or made strange decisions. Faction balance was not flawless either. Some castles and unit combinations were clearly stronger than others. From a modern perspective, the interface can feel dated. Managing multiple heroes and transferring armies can become tedious, especially on larger maps. The pacing is slower than modern strategy games, so not every modern player will have the patience for it. But for its time, these flaws were acceptable and rarely overshadowed the overall experience. After release, Heroes 2 was warmly received. Critics praised its depth, atmosphere, presentation, and enormous replay value. Players quickly embraced it, and the series continued to grow. In 1997, the expansion The Price of Loyalty was released, adding new campaigns, maps, and many more hours of gameplay. Even more importantly, a loyal community formed around the game. Players created custom maps, enjoyed hot seat multiplayer on one computer, and spent entire evenings on a single match. For many people, this is exactly what PC gaming memories were made of. Is it still worth returning to today? If you only want modern convenience and fast pacing, the older design may push you away. But if you appreciate classic strategy, careful planning, and timeless fantasy atmosphere, Heroes 2 can still be deeply engaging. This is not a game built on flashy effects. Its strength lies in mechanics, atmosphere, and smart design. That is why it survived the test of time. To sum it up, Heroes of Might and Magic 2 is a textbook example of how to make a sequel. It took the ideas of the first game and improved them in nearly every area. Better visuals, better music, deeper gameplay, more content, and an even stronger, just one more turn effect. It remains one of the most important turn-based strategy games ever released on PC, and without it, the success of Heroes 3 might never have happened. Let us know in the comments if you played Heroes 2 and which game in the series is your favorite. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.